So, J.K. Rowling has once again been trending due to the transgender question. Why? Because she decided to release a statement yet again about her views. Let's go through it, shall we? Apparently, she was responding to fake tweets. Quote, "I've ignored fake tweets attributed to me and retweeted widely. I've ignored porn tweeted at children on a thread about their art. I've ignored death and rape threats. I'm not going to ignore this." Well, that's some serious allegations. No screenshots of the aforementioned porn. I mean, obviously it would have to be blurred out a bit, but surely we could find out who is actually posting it. But why not just report these tweets to Twitter if it's truly impersonation of you and defamation and sending porn to kids and all that? Also, report the accounts that are allegedly harassing you too. I do find it interesting that it is fellow feminists that are sending you death threats and rape threats. It seems that this is trotted out even against the very people you would assume to be, at the very least, not issuing rape threats. Death threats, well, that is a given. Just ask Erin Pizzey. When you lie about what I believe about mental health medication, when you misrepresent the views of trans women for whom I feel nothing but admiration and solidarity, you cross a line. Why can't people just say women? Be grammatically correct, you're an author. But how does it feel to be lied about, JK? To see the tactics your movement uses on its outside enemies now being used on you. I've written and spoken about my own mental health challenges, which include OCD, depression, and anxiety. I did so recently in my essay, Turf Wars. I've taken antidepressants in the past and they helped me. Yes, you did, just to play the victim game. None of it is actually relevant to the argument, it's just to gain points, to shame people, essentially. How dare you attack a mentally ill person? That's just sick. Well, now they are trying to find ways to get around this, and well, they are deciding to simply dismiss it all as lies. Many health professionals are concerned that young people struggling with their mental health are being shunted towards hormones and surgery when this may not be in their best interests. I'm not so sure if this is happening, though I know of autistic children, particularly young girls in the most recent past, have been shunted towards it when they get confused about identity. But I have yet to hear about people who are clearly and obviously clinically depressed receiving the same treatment. Many, myself included, believe we are watching a new kind of conversion therapy for young gay people who are being set on a lifelong path of medicalisation that may result in the loss of their fertility and or full sexual function. Potentially, as I alluded to before, autistic girls have been essentially groomed into this, as has been reported in the media. This was made public by a teacher a few years back in a video I made. Basically, these girls who are either questioning or are actually just straight, bi or even lesbian are being told actually they are trans by older students and end up going non-binary, and are even being fast-tracked into gender reassignment therapy. But again, the question needs to be asked, why is she talking about this again? She could have mentioned all this in her very long essay a few weeks back, replacing it with the stuff where she goes on about herself for victim points. These concerns were explored by the recent BBC documentary about the Tavistock Clinic whistleblowers who were talking about transitions driven by homophobia. So, playing the phobia-ism game, as far as I have read, this is not about hating gays and lesbians. This is to me intersectionality taking precedence over procedure and science. It ranges from grooming to misdiagnosis, which the latter is known to be a frequent issue that the NHS has. It is no wonder that as soon as these kids express anything that they ideologically deem as trans or non-binary, they whisk them away to the clinic to be diagnosed. This is not how procedure should go, but it has nothing to do with homophobia, as far as I'm aware, on the part of the professionals. This is JK trying not to appear like a bigot. As I've said many times, transition may be the answer for some, for others it won't. Witness the accounts of the transitioners. The system sees surgery as the easy fix to girls who do not conform. Yes, it isn't for everybody. You can actually argue it is not something we should be doing with a mental illness. Notice she's only interested in all of this because it's young girls that have been in the media. Never mind the fact that the majority of transitioning cases are male to female, but she's a feminist, and like pretty much most people in general, she only cares about an issue when it's women and girls that are most affected. Sophie is a trans woman and a true feminist ally. She was making the point that antidepressants were overprescribed to teenagers in the past, with serious consequences. I don't think the feminists would like this. She's implying trans women can only be feminist allies like men. Also, this is supposed to make her less transphobic in the eyes of the intersectionals. Look, JK, you can trot out as many people as you like to say you aren't, but they aren't going to be convinced. They'll just accuse you of tokenism. And to be honest, the way you come across as so desperate and how it conflicts with some obvious turf-like language and mannerisms, you have to wonder if it's even genuine. The long-term health risks of cross-sex hormones have now been tracked over a lengthy period. The side effects are often minimised or denied by trans activists. But they don't care about the science, JK. Carl Hennigan, Professor of Evidence-Based Medicine at Oxford University, has described the off-label use of puberty blockers on under 18s as an unregulated live experiment on children. Again, yes, but they don't care, JK. None of that may trouble you or disturb your belief in your own righteousness. But if so, I can't pretend I care about your bad opinion of me. Pot calling the kettle black, JK, you're about as righteous as they are, considering your past attempts to pander to this very crowd, as has been documented elsewhere. Also, if you didn't care, why did you write an 11-tweet statement about it after you had already made a statement a few weeks back? Methinks you are not being honest with us. Either you are pretending that you don't care, or this is for attention, because I get a strong attention-seeking vibe from all of this. The fact you are writing a novel with a transgender character, the fact you've pandered to the intersectional crowd in the past, and because you know this will get you trending on Twitter, which you automatically were. Is this really about girls and women, JK, or just to sell units? JK, it's time to stop. Get back to work on your novel you may or may not be advertising for. It's beginning to get tiresome for everybody. It's looking likely that all of this is not about the principle or the bigger picture. You have done very well to make this all about yourself, and not about the actual issues, even though you mention them constantly. There's always something that has to be said about you and your mental health and your experiences. You just have this me vibe constantly in all this transgender controversy you have managed to drum up. Again, if it wasn't about you, we wouldn't be getting statements like this. We wouldn't be getting tabloid spreads about your ex-husband and your alleged abuse and your alleged sexual assault at the hands of some unknown assailant. Maybe all of that was to deflect attention away from your statements to drum up sympathy, which it did, but it was a far cry from think of the lesbian children. This latest statement has made people like me who supported your right to speak out and opinion less inclined to help you, because I can't buy what you're saying anymore. Not that I think your facts are wrong, just I don't think you really care. You obviously never really cared much about diversity, inclusion, etc. when you announced that Dumbledore was gay and Hermione was black, no matter what you may or may not have written in the books. You just did that to shift more Harry Potter books off the shelves and appeal to the far left. As if this series wasn't already obsessed over by the left, as it is. Get your ass off Twitter, concentrate on ruining literature with your crappy novels. That is preferable than your online keyboard warrioring for attention. And maybe those of us who do care and don't have ulterior motives can get the job done.
I'll tell you what you get! Call the police! You get what you fucking deserve!